And now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so excited for our keynote speaker. You asked for him again, and he honored us and agreed to join. Joe Justice.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me back. It's an honor and a privilege. Is there anything more you'd like to say to set up this conversation we get to have?
We are happy that you joined, and just rock and start. If you would like to introduce.
Okay, so I was a developer at Microsoft and a Scrum Master for Bill Gates. I then got to work with the leadership team at Amazon when Jeff Bezos was CEO. And then I got to work with Elon Musk. So I've had a very lucky career. And what I want to share today is what I learned from Elon Musk. And what we talked about last time was who I am and what I'd learned on the way, how I learned from Bill Gates and Bezos and then Musk. And last time we were together, I showed the Agile Hardware Developer course, and it evolves. I mean, every day it gets updates. And of course, every week it gets big updates, and every month it gets huge updates. So it's not the same as it was last we talked. But I've added a template section. That's what I'd like to collaborate with Agile Israel about. Thank you so much. In a way, I think about this as my global innovative Agile hardware hub. And with companies like Intel helping drive this, you have a lot of the real on the ground information. Mobileye, there's an enormous amount of Agile hardware bubbling out of Israel. And those of you who are in Israel might not even notice because it just feels normal, but it's very cutting edge. It's very, you and Silicon Valley and Shenzhen, China are changing a lot of the world. Okay, so that's what we talked about last time. Today, I'd like to share what is the Musk model. There's a book about Toyota, the machine that changed the world, and it's an awesome book, and it's old. It's about lean, it's about waterfall. It's about how good waterfall can be. And it's true, waterfall can be, compared to what came before it, chaos, really good. And it's nothing as good as agile. So what's the Musk machine that changed the world? That's a book that's not yet been written. These pink cards here, if you can see them, they say digital self-management, venture accounting, sleep at the bottleneck, 1,000-year goal. These are the prototype, basically 4 of the first 4 chapters, if a book ever comes, on what is the Musk model. Then on blue or green or seafoam green Post-its, I put the Joe's Agile hardware model. What gets 80% of the value for 20% of the effort? And I've spent a lot of time analyzing the Musk model to say, what about it that works so well? Musk's Agile. And then what is the less hardcore, but almost as valuable version? Because not all of us are going to take no salary and sleep in a sleeping bag in the factory every day. Now, if you did, that works. Musk has shown that that works. 100-hour weeks, sleeping in the factory in a sleeping bag does work. I did learn that from Elon Musk. This is called sleep at the bottleneck. So I'd like to explain that, and then these other 4 points, then all 4 points total, and then describe Joe's Agile hardware model as it evolves. And maybe this is helpful to some of you, especially those of you who might be starting companies or rebuilding or changing companies. First, Elon Musk sleeps at the bottleneck, wherever the bottleneck is. If the bottleneck is at SpaceX, Musk flies to SpaceX and Musk works there. It's not like Musk talks to the engineers. Musk joins the mob, joins the ensemble, and does the work. And this is why 20 years on, Musk is a radical polymath. Musk is very multi-talented because Musk joins whatever the engineering team is that day. If they're writing embedded C, Musk joins the mob or the ensemble trying to write embedded C. If they're fixing a jammed robot and that KUKA or FANUC robot is the bottleneck, Musk is trying to figure out how to unjam that robot. whatever it is. And if you've been doing that 100 hours a week for 20 years, you're really good at a lot of things. You become what's called full stack. You can go from end to end in your work. For example, rockets or Neuralink or Boring Company or OpenAI or Tesla. Whenever Musk gets tired, Musk rolls out a sleeping bag wherever Musk is at the bottleneck and sleeps. And there's two things that happen because of that. One, you have this very flat organizational feeling because the wealthiest person on planet Earth is sleeping there. So you figure it's probably important. And they're taking no salary. Musk does not take a salary. So you think maybe this is really important. Someone who could do anything they want is choosing to sleep there and not take a salary to do this. So maybe it's worth my time to help out, right? So it makes this flat feeling. Musk uses the same bathroom as you. Musk drinks the same coffee as you. Musk parks in the same parking spot as you. And if parking is difficult, it's difficult for Musk too. If parking is awesome, it's awesome for Musk too. So you have this shared experience. You feel heard by definition of that, right? So if something's difficult, it's not because it's a penalty on you. It's because it's actually not solved yet, right? So it lets you know that something's not solved yet. The second thing that does is it enforces what the extreme programming community has been talking about since the 80s, and that's shared ownership. So when Musk goes to sleep, Musk hopes the problem is different when Musk wakes up. That means nothing's waiting on Elon. And that means nothing should wait on you too. So there's no projects assigned to one person. That doesn't exist. That's not a thing. That'd be slow. Instead, what the extreme programming community has been talking about since the 80s, so it's more than 40 years now, is what Tesla does and SpaceX and Boring Company and Neuralink. Whenever you leave or go to sleep, you hand the tools you were using to someone else. So a laptop or a wrench or whatever it is you were using. And you know when you come back or when you wake up, you're going to get something different back. Nothing stops with you. And that's enforced. It's not like some weird ritual, like where I would leave at the end of a 12-hour shift. It's not like some ceremony where I would hand my laptop and wrenches and buffing tool or whatever I was using to someone else. You just do it. It's very casual. It's very matter of fact. But what that reinforces is this is a mission that we're all involved in and you want it to be different. You don't get to own anything, not your tools, not the project, period. It's group work. And Musk enforces that by leadership example, by going to sleep in a sleeping bag right there where the bottleneck is. And when Musk wakes up, Musk resumes work. But the first thing Musk will do when Elon wakes up is check, is this still the bottleneck? If the answer is yes, okay, what happened while Musk was asleep? And Musk will resume joining them up. Again, not telling people what to do, just joining the work, trying to get the work done. If the bottleneck is somewhere else, great. Then that means that one is not the bottleneck anymore. And Elon will go to wherever the bottleneck is. Usually that means a flight because the Elon companies are global. So usually Elon gets on a plane. And there's a Twitter account called @ElonJet that tracks Elon's flights. So you can actually see where the bottleneck is. Now, this is potentially a security concern. Maybe @ElonJet will be shut down. But as of right now, you can see where the bottleneck is, or at least in what geography it is by where Musk's flight is. That's the sleep at the bottleneck. Now, not all of us are so hardcore as to work 7 days a week until we fall asleep at the point of the work, and then sleep at the point of the work, and then wake up and resume working. Not all of us are that hardcore. So I thought long and hard about this. What about those of us who want to be a participatory parent, a loving spouse, or learn to play an instrument, or be involved in sports, or anything else? What about that? What would people like that do? And I've come up with Joe's Agile hardware model on the blue Post-it note here, which is what I'd recommend for people who are not quite as hardcore as Elon Musk, but want most of the benefit. Here's my recommendation. This is the best I've got today. Join mobs or ensembles or pair work, not talking, but doing the work at the bottleneck 1 or more hours every day. So if you could do that even 5 days a week, 5 hours a week, that would be so much better in terms of the effects that I talked about than traditional management, where you make annual reports, you do reviews for people, you talk to their manager, and it's all secondhand or worse. And you're not doing the work, you're 100% overhead. And you're enjoying your beautiful office, which creates jealousy and creates the desire for a hierarchy and a ladder to climb away from the work, all kinds of problems. If instead, people spend 1 or more hour doing the work, wherever the bottleneck is, the best you can detect it. And the cool thing about that is it's probably not your core area of expertise because the bottleneck moves. It could be in human resources, it could be in permitting, it could be in mechanical engineering, it could be in a vendor, a supplier company, not even your company. Wherever the bottleneck is, if you go there and try to do the work for 1 or more hours every day, many of the benefits that Musk achieves would be your benefit as well. So that's Joe's Agile hardware, the lighter lift, more romanticized and kind version of the Musk model. Next one. In a Musk company, it's super easy for you to manage yourself. We talked about this last time with the law of 2 feet and how the Musk companies are run a lot like a good open space conference, a lot like this conference, Agile Israel. And when it was even easier to have in-person conferences, a lot like Agile Testing Days or Agile Lean Europe or ALE, where you have an open space agenda. The Musk companies are run a lot like that. How does that work? There's a 1,000-year goal, and that lets you be able to self-manage without waiting on approvals. The 1,000-year goal for all the Musk companies is spread the light of consciousness out among the stars. That's it. So that tells you, you don't have to ask Elon or ask anyone else. It tells you what to do next. If you think, I've got an idea that would increase the efficiency of diesel engines, well, how valuable is a diesel engine to you on Mars? Not at all. There is not an excellent source of harvesting diesel on Mars. You'd have to ship it from Earth at weight. That would be a really poor decision to optimize. But if conversely, you have another idea about increasing the efficiency of an electric heat pump, that's directly in line with the technology stack to spread consciousness out among the stars. If you look at a Tesla Model 3, Model Y, Model X, or Model S, or Model X, they're basically prototypes of heavy machinery and habitat for Mars. That's what they are. That's why the efficiency keeps getting better. The insulation keeps getting better. They're way overbuilt compared to cars on Earth. The Tesla Cybertruck is essentially a miniature excavator for Mars. Like, that's what these things are. They're a direct critical path. So having a 1,000-year goal allows people to self-manage. Now, Volkswagen, who I have a lot of respect for Volkswagen, does not yet have this advantage. Volkswagen has a 9-year budget. It's locked in. So if you want to make a more than 3 million euro variance, you need to escalate that to the board and all the time that takes, which is months. It's often more than a year before your case is even heard. So now you have a year from when you detected a need to make a change to even talking about, could we make that change, much less making that change. And that's normal in most big companies. And the reason that exists is because there's not a 1,000-year goal for Volkswagen. Instead, it's what can we do to increase the monetary return this financial year for our shareholders? That's a hard problem. In fact, it's unknowable. So they try to share blame, like most companies, by escalating through tiers of management. And no one has the right answer, but if you escalate through enough tiers of management, at least it's blameless. It's gone through many branches of management. Whereas in a Musk company, you can decide for yourself, should I spend 3 million euro on this? Should I spend 300 million euro on this? If it's directly in line to spreading the light of consciousness out among the stars, no one is going to say that was a bad decision, even if you fail. So you don't have to wait for approval. It's immediately knowable because of this goal. Joe's Agile hardware recommendation here is take your company mission statement, whatever it is, And usually those are pretty good, like lean, excellent, respectful healthcare for all people on the earth, regardless of where you were born. That's an awesome goal and very different than what any company is able to achieve today. That's potentially a 1,000-year goal. Well, if you actually really take that, the company mission statement, and you prioritize by that ruthlessly over this year's shareholder return, you will have the same speed of self-management as the Musk companies. That's my current theory. Now, that also tests, is your company mission statement real, or is it just marketing? Like, is it only marketing, or is it marketing the company's actual core values that they're willing to run the business on? And that's a question about leadership's ethics and transparency and truism. But if that mission statement is valid, put your money on it, then you can self-manage. You can treat it as a 1,000-year goal. Truly, what advances that is what is approved and supported above all else. Then I saw a hand a moment ago. I reached a stopping point. I've hit bullet point 1 and 2. There was a hand. Please go ahead if that's still a comment or a question.
Our audience is muted, so if you have a question you would like to put in chat.
There was a hand. I unfortunately don't recall the name.
Yeah,
They jumped right up to the
Michael
top.
Frischman or Michael.
So
Yeah,
If
please.
if would like to unmute, then they should turn on their audio and video, and I can spotlight them for a question.
Thank you.
But they're not, so please go ahead, Joe.
Oh, okay. But anytime is fine. Thank you. Okay.
But if no one is going to ask, I'm curious to ask something.
Please. Yes, please.
I stopped myself to let others. So when you're saying that everyone can get approval to do, how does it go? Because you need some alignment in order to do that eventually, right? To get this kind of autonomy. So how do you get this kind of alignment to let everyone do whatever they need to and fail in a safe environment?
Super important. Thank you for highlighting it. I'm absolutely grateful. So if any of us have attended an open space conference doesn't worry so much about alignment. People can propose an agenda item and we use the law of 2 feet to go somewhere else if it's not fantastic. And sometimes an agenda item is proposed that no one expected, that's not even aligned with what the conference thought it was about. And it ends up being a hot topic and a lot of people go there. Sometimes everyone goes there. Well, that's usually a good thing, right? Well, the Musk companies operate like that. There's a 1,000-year goal. So if someone has a hot topic on how to make more money out of diesel, and it's not like diesel's bad, it just doesn't scale according to the long-term plan, right? So it's not like diesel's awful. But if someone has a great idea, a really hot topic on how to double the efficiency of diesel, it's immediately stricken, it's immediately closed because it's not in line with the 1,000-year goal. It just doesn't happen. And this happened to me several times. I kept trying to restart Tesla Motorsports. I was co-captain of a Nürburgring racing team. Still am, but I'm not as active as I had been. I'm still on paper a co-captain. And I've made many race cars and participated in many racing events. I kept trying to start Tesla racing. Every time I did, it was immediately stricken. It was immediately cut because no matter how many Tesla racing teams there are on Earth, that's not going to directly accelerate the spread of consciousness out among the stars. It's just not in line. It's not in the critical step. So once you have that, go ahead. Yeah, Boaz. Please.
Yeah, where did it stop? I mean, this is interesting. At what point did it did the idea terminate?
Okay, so here's the set of checks and balances that I think would have caught it, and then what actually caught it. I'll start with what actually caught it. I emailed Elon again and said, anytime someone sends an email to racing@tesla.com, can you have it redirect to me until someone who's even more qualified volunteers to respond? So I was humble about it. I was like, not like I'm the best that could possibly answer these emails. And there's many emails coming in to an address that doesn't even exist, racing@tesla.com. People all over the world are hot about this topic all the time. There's a flood of emails to that non-existent email address. So I said, Elon, May I please be able to respond? Can those emails be redirected to me so I can reply? Until someone who's even more qualified volunteers to volunteer their time to answer. Elon would not even bother writing back to that. It was so off mission. So what actually happened is I realized this is so non-important to Elon, he wouldn't even reply to that email or any of the emails I sent on that topic or any of the emails anyone sends on that topic. So that's what actually stopped me. Now, the series of checks and balances that I believe would have happened is you have this thing, it's the top pink Post-it note on this list, digital self-management. And every project that has one or more people working on it at all is automatically tracked in digital self-management. It's actually a pretty simple tool and it's very automatic. It has some cool functionality underneath it, but the first part of the tool is basically what are people doing, and it's automatic. It's like, are people standing by the tools that make Model Y fenders? If so, they're probably working on Model Y fenders, probably. So it's not even a perfect tool, but it just automatically sees about where people are in any of the Tesla facilities or any of the online events and guesses you're probably doing this kind of thing. And if a whole bunch of people are standing over at the Tesla test track, it says, what are these people doing? Are they trying to make Tesla racing again? So it takes really simple guesses just by knowing where people are and knowing what activities tend to happen in those places. It's a very simple tool. Underneath, there's some fairly educated now machine learning stacks. Again, machine learning shouldn't be as mystical as it sounds. It's actually a pretty straightforward software set, but it does learn over time by association. And these things have been running in some cases for 20 years. So some of them are really good now. I mean, it's not very sophisticated code for the most part. It's been running a while, right? And machine learning does get better with data and time. So some of it's not bad, but on the surface it's quite simple. Where do people look like they are? That's probably what they're doing. There's no timesheets, by the way. There are 0 timesheets at Tesla. I never encountered a timesheet anywhere for anything. It's automated, even if it's not 100% perfect, although it's pretty good by now. It's nearly 100% perfect by now. So what this system does is if it detects you're doing something that's not on the 1,000-year goal, that's highlighted red on everyone's phone and everyone's monitors. It's not like Big Brother. You can see all projects at once. And the green ones are guessed to be very efficient use of Tesla funds towards the mission. And it's a guess, and maybe it's wrong. They're green. Items that are red mean they're below average efficiency in terms of money or people doing something towards Tesla's mission. And it's a guess. It's actually pretty good now, but it's a guess. This is not a flawless system, but it's pretty good now. So if something's red, like for example, Tesla racing, which I'm super passionate about, I kept trying to do, and now that I'm outside Tesla, I do it. I race Teslas again. I recruit interest in Tesla motorsport. I think all electric motorsport, I think it's great, but it's true. It's not directly on mission. So if that happens, it's deep red because there's no direct benefit towards the mission for that. Yes, you get people excited, but there's other things that get people excited and solve tricky engineering problems and help bridge the supply chain to what people want to do and lower the cost to kilograms into low Earth orbit or beyond. And they have other compounding benefits. Really, Tesla racing almost only gets people excited. So it's deep in the red. The efficiency per time or money is really low. Well, when a project gets low in the red, everyone can see. And that is when you should use the law of 2 feet to move yourself to something higher value, because it means you're working on something incredibly low efficiency. And this is so visible and obvious. People do use the law of 2 feet to either immediately improve that project, to figure out how to make it far more valuable or cost far less to operate, or they just walk to another project, something that's very green right now, to boost its green, make it even more green, even more efficient use of company resources. I have not seen people who stayed on something in the red and not improving it or walking somewhere else. But if that happened, I imagine that's when other employees would intervene and say, you're squandering our funds. I did not actually see that occur. Not that I remember now, maybe I'll remember another time. And if I do, I'll share it. I'll post a recording. But I imagine that's when it would be shut down for them. They would not be allowed the privilege to run something that efficient for any length of time. And by that, I mean like for more than one day, for more than a 24-hour period, probably.
Joe, how can we know that someone is red?
So there's apps from the moment you're an employee. When I joined, I got 28 apps on whatever phone. It was just the phone I walked in with. It's not like they handed me a Tesla phone. I had an iPhone 10. It's whatever the newest iPhone was at the time is what I had. Other people had Android. I mean, it didn't matter as long as there was an app store. Your phone got downloaded, it got bombarded with Tesla apps. And some of them are continuous training tools. The most fun one, I think, is the master key, the master Tesla app. So you can summon, at least in the factory. I didn't try it with like someone's Tesla that they owned on the street, but at least in the factory, you can summon any Tesla to you or drive it. So you can like call them all and they all like, they move at like 5 miles an hour. So what's that in real metric? Like what, 8 kilometers an hour or something? It's slow. It's like a slow walk, but you can like summon them all to you. It's really cool. And everyone gets that app, no matter what you were hired to do. So it's empowering. You're trusted from immediate. If you're an employee, you're trusted. If you're not trustworthy, you would not be an employee anymore. Right? If you made a mistake, it's a very loving, supportive environment. But if you demonstrated that you are legitimately not trustworthy, there's no tolerance for that. You are out, like gone, gone, gone. So like if you just took one of the Teslas and went 300 kilometers an hour on a public road, you would be gone. You would not be in the company anymore. But if you just
so it's better not limit yourself to 300 kilometers. You know, it's better just to go
298. Maybe
yeah. The most you can. You know, if to go, then to go.
But Boaz, please don't publicly quote me on that. But I'm sure it's fine. But if you're just having an ice cream and decide to summon all the cars to you, like that's not that bad. It's probably pretty cool. People probably clap and yeah, all right, that was awesome. There is good free ice cream many days of the week, especially on hot days. Okay, so you get these apps, and one of the features of these apps is you can see all projects that are in flight as far as the very basic AI. Again, it's really cool tech, but what I want to stress is this is definitely not unattainable technology. When I talk about this digital self-management, companies that worked hard on it for 1 year could probably have a useful version of what I'm talking about when I say digital self-management. And if they ran it for 20 years like Tesla does, they'd probably have a really good version of digital self-management. But what I want to say is this is not unattainable. Okay, so one of the apps is that dashboard. And you can see every project that is detected to likely be getting resources currently. And is it a guess? Is it an efficient use of company funds? If so, how much? Or is it an inefficient use of company funds? And if so, how much? And that's on your phone. There's monitors all around all the Tesla buildings hanging from the ceiling. And we talked about some of what's on those monitors last time. I was lucky enough to be at Agile Israel. Thank you so much. Well, here I'll say one of the displays that's frequently on all of those monitors is that view. What are all these projects and their relative guessed efficiency? So that plus the 1,000-year goal means you really don't need a manager, really. There are not managers in the Musk companies. There are people who rotate through manager roles for legal reasons, labor reasons, accountability reasons. But who's in that role rotates, and sometimes many times a day. Anyone who's qualified could take that role. There's definitely not a culture of, I want to make manager, so I have a different job description and I make more money. Because everyone gets paid about the same. There's no ladder to climb. Stock price is how you make a lot of money. And a lot of people make great money on stock price, which I talked more about that our first session together. Thank you very much. So with digital self-management and a 1,000-year goal and a flat culture, which is part of what I talked about with Elon Musk sleeping at the bottleneck and taking no salary, and using the same bathroom as everybody else, drinking the same coffee as everybody else. Then you have many of the benefits of this radically fast company, the Musk companies. Then you would combine that with venture accounting. But before I go into venture accounting or Silicon Valley accounting, I'd love to hear if there's comments or questions. Thank you already, everybody, very, very much.
So there is one question in the chat. How are from Zvika? How are employees evaluated?
They're not. They're not. It's just not a thing. They're definitely not annual goals. I mean, how agile is that, right? Who could possibly know what's going to be valuable a year
Who can
from
possibly
now?
trust people?
You can't. And it's more about like who you hang out with after work than, and this has been proven. I don't remember who did the study. I apologize. It may have been MIT Sloan Business School, but this was proven. Oh, this was measured. What has more impact on a positive or negative annual review, and the highest correlation above whether you tried hard, whether you hit the pre-established metrics, whether you made money for the company, the highest correlated value was how the person who reviewed you felt when they walked into the interview. Like their mood. Did they just have a fight with their spouse? Did they just get a positive email? That was the highest correlating factor. Like that's how junk this is. It's a completely junk system. And Tesla just skips it altogether. It doesn't exist.
Yeah, I totally agree with that personally.
Right?
Another question
I mean,
from Ian. Yeah, sorry.
I was merely agreeing with you.
It's easy when we agree, isn't it? So another question from Ian. Creating mobs mean that those teams need to have time to focus on bottlenecks. How have you achieved that time to focus on changes as a priority in parallel to the daily work?
Well, so there's no assigned work, right? There's these, imagine an open space. It's not like there's an assigned open space that we have to go to, right? So you use the law of 2 feet to go to the session, and we didn't call it open space, but it looked exactly like an open space agenda to me every day. Use the law of 2 feet to go to where you think you can add the most value. And there's no penalty or bonus. You simply do your best. And that's it. Your reward is if you choose to buy into the stock plan, which you really should. It's such a great deal. You buy it for many % under publicly traded value. So you make money instantly, basically. And then the stock price has historically continued to ramp. So you make a lot of money. Many of the people I worked with had more than $1 million US and worked at Tesla because they liked it. They already had plenty of money. I had more than $1 million US when I joined Tesla, and I worked there because I liked it and I liked the mission. A lot of people are there are like that. Okay, so your daily work, there is no daily work. If there's something as known as daily, that has long ago been the focus of an automation project. This is something the Musk companies do really well. Extremely aggressive automation and elimination of work. Like timesheets, there are not timesheets. There's certain hourly tracking that I was working in California primarily at the mothership. That's what we call it, the headquarters at the time, Fremont, California. The California labor law requires timesheets. Those are auto-generated by basic machine learning stacks. Basic. I mean, it's like Excel scripts level, not much harder than that. It doesn't mean it's free. Someone had to write those and someone has to maintain those, but you are not doing timesheets. So a lot of things that compose daily work are automated or just skipped. They're not done. And let me try to frame this. There's a public interview with the site lead, if anyone's a site lead. I mean, it just means they're there a lot. People rotate through every position. It's really flat, but we'll call them a site lead at SpaceX Boca Chica, Texas, where Starship is made, the largest rocket on planet Earth. And they say, we don't measure projects in years. We measure them in days, hours, or even seconds. The prioritization structure is, if an asteroid were going to hit Earth in 8 days, what would you do from now until then? So if you have daily work, it's gone. it is gone. No one cares about your daily work. If an asteroid's going to hit Earth in 8 days, no one cares if you did X, Y, or Z. They care, did you make even one little nudge positive towards the mission, the overall mission? And that's all anyone encourages you to do. And if there's something that's legally required, that's automated. So you're free. Humans are for creative problem solving, not daily work. Now, I may have misunderstood or mischaracterized the question. I might have taken this a wrong angle. I hope what I said is still useful, but if I misinterpreted where you were coming from, please ask again, or I didn't mean disrespect to the question.
We are going in a few minutes to go to the breakout room. If you are okay with that, Joe, so if anyone would like to join for additional Q&A in the meantime, while we will have the next talk, feel free.
Now, to be clear, I don't know if I have permission for, here, this side, I guess, for the Tesla logo. This was provided by Agile Israel.
Sorry if we messed.
No, it may be fine. It may be fine. Just, I mean, I'm no longer an employee. I don't think, like, it's not like I am Tesla. I worked in Tesla previously.
Yeah, we just put it online everywhere, you know, and send it to all, you know. So no problem. No one will see it.
Maybe it's fine. Maybe
My neighbor has a Tesla car,
you.
so that's why it's there.
It is super my honor and privilege to be part of Agile Israel. Thank you so much for having me again. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
It was so inspiring, Joe. Really, thank you so much.